President Biden, well, when they were scheduling their Democrat National Committee convention, which comes after, if you're the party that is in office, you do your convention after the party that's out of office. So the Republican Party goes first in July. The Democrat Party goes in August. They pick, though.
That is when they certify who is going to be the nominee.
They actually take the votes for all the different primaries you've had. And each state nominates the candidate. You actually become officially the candidate for president of the United States for the Democrat Party or the Republican Party. But they forgot to look at part of the election law in Ohio. And in Ohio, there is a deadline. See, the Democrat National Convention is scheduled not to even begin in Chicago until August 19th. But that occurs more than a week after the August 7th deadline to certify a presidential candidate to the office in Ohio. So they either have to move up their nominating convention, which Logan is moving these. I've worked on these conventions. Unless you could just move up this nominating part, but that's a big part of the convention.
Conventions are planned years in advance for a reason. These are big. This is like the Super Bowl coming down.
People fight to have that job to go up to the microphone to say, we're the state of blah. We are nominating Joe Biden to be president. I mean, those are usually the highest ranking, political officials in their state or someone they really want to put forward as a future leader in their state. So that's a big job you get to nominate. And to take that away from the convention would be weird. Now, Ohio, it's interesting. The Senate is controlled by Republicans, technically 26 Republicans, 7 Democrats. The House, 67 Republicans, 32 Democrats, but some weird moves there have put some Democrats in control of things. So the question is, does the Ohio General Assembly do what you would hope maybe any state legislature would do, which is correct the issue? I mean, if this was being done to Donald Trump, you'd probably say, listen, fix the law. You knew their convention was going to be on the 17th, and you knew their convention had to be later because it has to be after the Republican convention. So figure it out legally. But what we do know is that the Biden team and their convention team wasn't looking.
Yeah, they had their eye off the ball.
They have their eye off the ball completely. And Logan, I think that's part of the issue that Biden is going to face throughout this election is a lot of people with their eye off the ball because they were used to running a campaign from the basement and letting all these votes, all these paper ballots that were out all over the country.
If you're focused also on getting President Trump knocked off certain states because you don't like
Colorado.
That may be the reason why you don't end up on the state ballot of all 50 states because
maybe
you
instead
are
of
paying
trying
attention.
to fight us in court to take him off the ballot in Colorado, which we beat them 9-0 at the U.S. Supreme Court, they should have figured out when to do their convention so he could be on the ballot in Ohio without having to have this mess now. The DNC nominating convention or the Ohio General Assembly would either have to move up the nominating convention. I don't know how they would do that without messing up an entire national convention, but maybe that can be separated out from the national convention. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in DNC politics and how they could put that forward. Or the Ohio Assembly must act by May 9th. I mean, that's pretty soon. 90 days prior to a new law's effective date to create an exception for this statutory requirement. Now, it is a Republican General Assembly. Is it one that is going to want to go to battle over this issue, Logan, when we've said that Democrats have been trying to take Trump off the ballot everywhere? I'm not sure.
Well, if you look at our comments, it's sort of that judging you what's the right thing to do versus what's appropriate. And there is a sense of, Sharon on YouTube said the DNC messed up. It's their problem. Why should we help them?
Yep.
There's a lot of that thought going around, but you feel that way.
Make them fight it out.
But to me, it's no different.
Make them go to court. Make them go to the legislature. Make them go beg to change the rule. I don't think Republicans need to do that. Make the Democratic National Committee go and beg the Democrats and the Republicans in the state house in Ohio and their governor to change this rule.
Yeah, and Will, our executive producer, just said they have to write that exception and pass it in 1 month when currently their General Assembly isn't in session right now.
You have to really beg.
Yeah, but I do think it's probably worth it.
You don't really want to go into a general election giving up Ohio completely, though. going to be a tough state for him to
Yeah,
win. There's a lot of other races in Ohio.
Let's talk about that. So Ohio has always been known as sort of one of the swing states.
It was.
Now President Trump kind of changed that, but that doesn't mean that it's not a swing state still.
No,
they still have Democrats in state.
Elected at the Senate level, the U.S. Senate level, so at statewide level, you've got Democrats. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, I think this election cycle with Donald Trump as the candidate, it is likely that he will win. But there will be plenty of Democrats who will also win other races going on, House races and local races too. So you would hope you'd want your leader, Joe Biden, to be at the top of the ticket to encourage people to get out, not just to vote for him. Maybe he can't win the state, but to vote for in their local races for Democrats where they can win. So it's not always based off, can I win the state? But it's, hey, maybe I don't win Ohio, but I can still become president, and I can get 2 or 3 more congressmen in the House, or maybe a senator in the U.S. Senate who supports my work. That's a lot better than 3 Republicans and another Republican senator who doesn't. So you can see why it's an interesting play.
But a lot of people are saying this is old news. You guys are spinning out fake news. He's not off the ballot. That, as of right this second,
he is.
Joe Biden cannot qualify to be on the ballot in the state of Ohio.
Right. We're not talking about the primary. We are talking about the general election ballot, because you have to have been nominated by August 7th is the deadline to certify a presidential candidate to the office in Ohio. That is 12 days before they're even scheduled to begin the Democrat National Convention, where you would nominate ultimately Joe Biden. It begins on August 19th. The nominating of Joe Biden wouldn't occur until later into that convention, a couple days, usually 2 or 3 days into the convention, which are usually 3.5-day events. So they're going to have to figure this out, because it's not a good story to start with on a Monday. It's a huge state to make a misstep like this on. You can't give up in Ohio. I have a feeling they will work something out, but it is extremely embarrassing to the team running the Biden campaign, because you'd think they'd be all over at least getting on the ballot. They didn't even have a primary challenge. Literally, all they had to do was make sure they were following the rules of each state before they set their primary, before they set their convention date. Again, everything would have been fine. But, Logan, they didn't. Maybe they've been thrown off by this eclipse and the Mayans and who's coming back and whatever.
Who's coming back?
Is there a spaceship? Is it Jesus? We don't know who's coming back today, but it could be.
We have a comment coming in that said the Ohio legislature did not change the law to keep Biden off the ballot. They're saying that's the big difference here from what they did to Trump. Are we going to give them a pass on following the law now?
Well, listen, it's not us that'll be giving them the pass, right? It would be probably the Ohio legislature saying, we don't want to make it look like we're afraid to go up against Joe Biden. That's how they'll pitch it.
Yeah.
They'll pitch it as, you were trying to disenfranchise voters because you're afraid Joe Biden's going to beat you in Ohio. And then you'll have to come back and say, no, we're not. Just let him be on the ballot. And I would love to punish them for their mistake here and not let him be on the ballot. But I think in 2024, you risk looking like a party who's trying to, again, taking away the ability for people to vote.
Yeah,
and we didn't really like that in Colorado when they tried to do that to President Trump.
Do something also. So it's like we're not for this.
We had 14 states that we represented where they tried to take President Trump off the ballot. We wanted the Supreme Court 9-0 that you can't do that. Now, he didn't do anything. He filed everything correctly.
Yeah.
Joe Biden, the Supreme Court is going to look at this and say, why didn't you follow your rules? Now, I think there is a way, probably under Democrat rules, when I'm reading through this, where they can have a nominating convention that's separate from their national convention. May take a little bit of the fun away of, who does Maine nominate? Who does blah, blah, blah nominate? That one night they show on TV for the full 4 hours, the big night where they give the candidate then gives the big speech. But they may be able to do a real one and a fake one.
Yeah, I did also want to bring up, as before we had...
It's a made-for-TV event, the conventions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big pomp and circumstance
have this done
entertainment.
Off camera.
Yeah, that would be the way or the workaround here, if that's what's needed.